Hello everyone, welcome back. I've got a new movie, we're doing a new movie right now. I'm with my friend Marc and today I'm going to show you how to make some smoked meat. If you don't know what a smoked meat is, a smoked meat sandwich, it's about the same I think as pastrami sandwich, but it's from Quebec. It's from Montreal, the area of Montreal. It's been created by the Jews of Montreal at the beginning of the 20th century. It's a good recipe. It's made with some brisket. Today we went and bought 4 briskets. We're missing one. I need one more for my brother-in-law. I'm gonna go get that tomorrow. I already produced a movie. It's in French though, but you'll get the main idea, even though I don't know if you understand French or not, but if you don't, just watch the images. You're gonna understand how to make some good smoked meat. Today, we're going to show you how to make the pickled liquid in which, the brine, in which we're going to put our briskets. It's quite easy, and I'm going to tell you the ingredients right now. So for the ingredients, if you want to know exactly the recipe, you can go on my site, michupichu007. On my site, there's a movie called Our Bon Smoked Meat. You can find the recipe at 1 minute 50. It's written in French, but if you use a translator, you'll be able to figure it out. I'm gonna tell you everything now as I'm going through it. First, we're gonna start with some coarse salt. You're gonna use for 1 brisket, you're gonna use 300 grams of coarse salt. We're doing 5 briskets, so I had to use 1.5 kilograms, of coarse salt. To be honest, we didn't use that much. We've used only 1.3, and I'm gonna tell you why in a few minutes. After that, you're gonna need some powder, garlic powder. For each recipe of 1 brisket, you're gonna need 5 tablespoons. There's a few things, green parts in my garlic powder. It's some dill. You're gonna have to add some dill. You're gonna use 2 teaspoons of dill per recipe. Here, you've got some dried mustard. For 1 brisket, you're gonna use 2 tablespoons of dried mustard. No, 5 tablespoons of dried mustard, and for that batch, that's about it. Here I've got some other spices. I've got some paprika. You're gonna use 2 tablespoons of paprika. 2 tablespoons. It's hard to pick up pieces here, but anyway, I'm gonna tell you. 2 tablespoons of dry minced onions. You're gonna need some celery seeds. About celery seed, it's 2 tablespoons as well. I've added some coriander in there, about 1 tablespoon of coriander, and about half a teaspoon worth of curry in there as well. I've told you about the dill. Now we go with this beefsteak spices. Steak spices. Usually you take some without salt. The main reason why we added less coarse salt to our recipe is because we didn't find steak spices without any salt. I had some left from another time. I've used it in my batch, but the rest is regular steak spices. So we added a little bit less of coarse salt in our recipe. And finally, last ingredient, it's black peppercorn. You can use colored peppercorn, doesn't matter. You're gonna need 200 grams worth of peppercorn per recipe. I didn't say it, but for the steak spice is 200 grams as well. With the peppercorn and the steak spices, we're gonna have to burn them in a pan. You're gonna do that with a medium-low temperature, and be sure to have some ventilation because you'll see some emanation will come out of those spices. The black peppercorn and the steak spices. it's going to create some gas and it's going to be harder to breathe in the room. So be sure to have a good ventilation in that room. So we're going to start. We're going to go right ahead with the steak spice. We're going to start that. So a good way to know when your spices are going to be ready, when you're going to have burned them enough, and it's going to be the same thing for the black peppercorn, is that you're going to see some fumes coming out of your spices, and you hear a characteristic sound made by the spices that burns. I'm sure you can hear it. It sounds like some Rice Krispies in milk. So when they're doing that, it's because they're ready. Okay, so we're done with the steak spices. Now we're doing the black peppercorn. We're gonna do them the same way. We're gonna burn them. You're gonna hear them crack. When you hear that, leave them a few minutes and then you're ready to go. We're gonna have to crush those black peppercorn. We're gonna use a blender. With that, we're gonna crush them, make like a coarse powder out of them, and then we're gonna add them to the rest of our spices right there. Okay, so we're done grounding our black peppercorns. We added it up to the rest of the spices and herbs. If you want to see what it looks like, that's about it. So now what we're gonna do, we're gonna cut that batch to prepare 5 briskets. So we have to know how much we have of spices. We just weighted it. It's about 3.1 kilograms. So we're doing 5. We're gonna use about 650 grams worth of spices per brisket. But the thing is, we're gonna use some spices for the brine and some spices for a dry rub. So we're gonna cut our 650 into, so 325 for the brine, 325 for the dry rub. And we're gonna add one ingredient to the brine. It's saltpeter. Saltpeter is a chemical product. You can use it to pee. It's a diuretic, and you can find it in drugstores. It's kind of hard now to find, but if you want to have some red meat, if you want your smoked meat to be reddish, you need to add some saltpeter. It has a property of keeping the red meat. It's not a must, but you know, it's always fun to know to enjoy what your food looks like. So a real smoked meat should be red. We're using saltpeter. So we're gonna start cutting our batch of spices. I'm gonna do all that and you're gonna see what I mean. Let's go. Okay, like I said, we're gonna use 325 grams worth of spices per brisket. Here we've got 2 pots with 10 liters of water boiling in them. For 1 brisket, you're gonna use 5 liters worth of water for your brine. We've got 2 liters, it's worth 2 brines. So I'm adding up 650 grams to my boiling water. There we go. Okay, we're gonna let it boil for about an hour. Then we're gonna try to lower the temperature, get it cooler, and then we're gonna add our piece of brisket in there. Okay, while our brine is boiling for about an hour, like I said earlier, we're gonna prepare a piece of meat. This is brisket, beef brisket, of course. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna remove some of the excess fat. But you've got to be extra careful with one thing though. A good smoked meat needs some fat. You don't want it too dry, so we're gonna have to leave some of the fat on. Just remove the extra fat, like this big piece right there, which was right there on the side. I'm gonna remove it, but I'm gonna leave some on the top. Here you've got some extra fat. We're gonna remove some, but we're gonna try to keep some on it. So like that, our meat is gonna be moist and juicy once it's done. Okay, so now our brine is colder. It's now time to inject the meat with the brine. So we're gonna use a meat syringe. We take some of the brine. We put the needle into the piece of meat and you just inject some brine in it. It's as easy as that. So we're gonna add 2 balls of brine to that piece of meat, and then we're gonna take it, put it into a plastic bag. We're gonna add the rest of the brine to it, and then we're gonna let it sit for about 10 days. After that, we're gonna smoke it. Okay, so we're finally done with the 4th brisket. We injected it with some brine. I've put it in an industrial plastic bag. Added the rest of the 5 liters worth of brine into the bag with the brisket. You make a knot, and you're gonna keep it for about 10 days in the cold at 4 degrees Fahrenheit. The first time I've done it, I've let it brine for about 7 days. This time we're gonna try 10. The next step is to smoke your piece of brisket. You're gonna smoke it, and then you're gonna cook it with some steam, and then you slice some big pieces. You put it into a rye bread, and there you go, some mustard. You've got a smoked meat sandwich, one of the finest things around in Montreal. I hope you enjoyed my movie, and please, if you did, leave me some comments, and I invite you to subscribe to my channel, Michu Pichu 007. Thank you, and see you next time.